Hi, welcome to the first episode of what I intend to be my cross-stitch podcast. Now, I have a knitting podcast and it's called Yarnivore. So this is kind of like Yarnivore for Flosstube. And I will record the two podcasts separately, probably on the same day. That's Bebop. It's my little puppy man. He is 14 years old. He is old. Now, some of you may be coming straight from my knitting podcast, and some of you may not actually know me. My name is Sadie Ruin on Ravelry, if you are on Ravelry. Blue Ruin on Instagram and Twitter. I tend not to tweet as much as I Instagram. Now, I used to do cross-stitch as a part of my knitting podcast, but it just got so intensely big that I felt it needed its own. And I figure for people who only want to watch stitchy stuff, they can check out the cross-stitch podcast. And for people who want to check out only knitting stuff, they can check out the knitting one. Then, if you like both, you can have double trouble with me. So this is the first one. I'm going to try and say some stuff about me interspersely as if, you don't actually know me. Because if you do, you do. But if you don't, hey, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am a 32-year-old woman, almost 33, living in the Pacific Northwest currently. My husband's in the Navy. We recently moved here last year, the middle of last year, close to the end. And I'm originally from Canada, Regina, Saskatchewan. I've lived in Regina, Prince Albert, Saskatoon, and Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I have traveled quite extensively in Canada. I like Canada. I have lived in Minnesota and now the Pacific Northwest in the United States since we've been married. And I have 3 cats, a dog. They're all old. My oldest cat is 20. The second one is 19. The third one's 18. The dog is 14. They're all old. They all have problems. My oldest cat's a diabetic. My second oldest cat has arthritis and asthma. And my baby cat is just dumber than a bag of hammers. And she's 18 and I still call her my baby. The Bebop, my dog, he has a heart condition and he has recently been diagnosed with doggy Alzheimer's. So I spend a lot of time with them, keeping them happy and comfy. And cross-stitch just seems to work. I have cross-stitched for a significant amount of time in my life. I started when I was really young by working on my mother's projects. And then it fell by the wayside. I had a resurgence for a little bit, and then it fell by the wayside. And now it's back with a vengeance, and I have gone like full throttle, full Monty into cross-stitching. And I think, and that completely coincides with the fact that I quit smoking 2 months ago, and that was a way for me to keep my hands busy and keep my mind engaged. So, yay! I am going to be drinking intermittently. I just recorded a half-hour podcast prior to this. There's no way around it. Now, I figured I would start off by showing you some more of my some of my more recent finished projects. I don't have the frame for this. I am going to order a frame for this, but this is a Mill Hill bead kit. It is the Ravens kit. I call it my crows because I love crows. If you can't tell, I have a lot of tattoos. I also have an owl over here. It's really darn near impossible to show the owl properly. That one's for my mom because she loves owls. I've got a bat on a ball of yarn, and that is my yarn company, Knitter's Nightmare. I have 2 Cat Stevens album covers, Teaser and the Fire Cat and Monobone Jakin, which are my favorite Cat Stevens albums. I'm a big Cat Stevens fan. And Fleur de Lis I got in New Orleans. My first tattoo ever was a bat. And then up here, I've got a giant crow with eyes in the wings. If you're into movies and comic books and soundtracks, you'll notice that's the Crow soundtrack cover, because that movie is insanely good. and the soundtrack has been very inspirational in my life. I also have a full foot tattoo of an anchor with a nautical star, of course, for my husband, as well as balls of yarn, knitting needles, roses, stuff like that, all on my foot. I have lilies on my other leg, which are for my friend Lily, and I have a bee on my knee, because I'm the bee's knees. So this is a first finish in a good long while. I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to end up picking up more Mill Hill kits because I really, really liked doing it. It was so much fun. So much fun. I was really worried about the beading because it's really heavily beaded. It's really, really heavily beaded. You can't see all the beads. Well, you can kind of, but they match colors really well in here. There's a lot of beads, and I was worried because I'd never crocheted beaded. Usually that was what, if there was something like that in something my mother was doing, she always did it. I never did it. Both my mom and my aunt cross-stitch. See, here's the interesting part for cross-stitching in my family. My grandfather cross-stitched quite prolifically. I actually have one of his cross-stitches that he didn't finish before he passed, and I'm going to finish that and give it back to my mom because that's really special. So he cross-stitched. My uncles, my two uncles, 2 out of 3 of them, they cross-stitch. My one uncle quite prolifically. The other uncle, yeah, but not as much. He does though. And my aunt, and my mom, and now me. And I figure that's archaic handicraft? Yes, I'll take 2. So I love my crows, which is actually a raven's. It's a Mill Hill kit. You can get it if you want it. Now, if I'm in a swap with you, if you're a knitter and I'm in a swap with you, so you know who you are, there was just a cat that went by and the tail just threw me off. But if you're a knitter and I'm doing a swap, you need to bugger off because I'm going to show something here. Just fast forward like 5 minutes, okay? Thanks. This is for a swap. It is the Leaning Tower of Macaroons by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I just mounted it on a block of wood, and I'm going to get some felt to go on the back. It's laced. That's as good as I'm showing you because it's a horrible job at the back. But the felt I'm going to put over with like the little hangy thing. It's going to make it all worthwhile. It's adorable though. This is on 18 count Aida. It's a yellow. It's a buttercream, which is not going to pick up. I'm sorry. Molly, if you're watching, it doesn't matter. What's cute about it is those bloody macaroons. It looks off-center because I centered it based on the plate, and they're supposed to be leaning. So that was my 2 most recent finishes. I like doing smalls. I did a round of Christmas ornaments for family members this Christmas, and they came out really pretty. So, yeah. What I am currently working on, and yes, I knit this shawl that I'm wearing. I also spun the yarn. That's all we're going to say about that. I am currently working on many things because I am a serial starter. That, and I like to have different kinds of patterns to go with my flow. Me flow. So, let's see here. I have everything precariously placed over here. The first one I'm going to show you is this one. Oh, crinkle, oh, glare. Yes. It is a cat sleeping in a bookshelf with cute book titles. It's called Frederick the Literate. My husband got it for me for Christmas. It's on 14 count black Aida, which is why it can be a bit of a beast to work on. And here is... It's on a Q-snap. I use Q-snaps. I used to use hoops, but now they bug me. He is on 14 count black Aida. I've got most of Frederick's head done. I'm not sure. Does his bottom peek out at all? Yeah, his bum hangs out, so I've only got his head done. I've got some books done, and that's a fish up here. And here, wow. Here is the top border. That's as high as it goes. This is also as far as it goes. So I'm going to try and get this side done before I move inward. It's really fun to do. I just require more lighting. And I have the Ott light in here. I should really move it out there, but you should have more than one project, right? 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 Everybody agree with me? Thank you. Now, next up, I have to pull this from over here. Is my mini Harumph. I really should have picked the quick stitch on this because there are 88 colors or 90. No, this one has 88. This is 88 colors. It's a Heaven and Earth design, artwork by Suzanne Giesman. And I call him Harumphy. And he's adorable. But if you look at that, you can see that it's confetti hell. I'm sorry if that's a swear to you. There may be swearing. I will try to keep it to a minimum. Like I said, I'm married to someone in the Navy. They swear a lot. Pick up on it. So I've started. And I'm trying to do this weird kind of parking method. It's not really working for me, but it is working for me, which is why I'm going to keep doing it. But it's not really a proper method. That's as far as I've gotten. And seriously, I think I've used all 88 colors so far. It's just confetti everywhere. Everywhere. There are no giant blocks of color. I could go for some giant blocks of color. I will eventually give this to my mother because her thing is owls, which is why I have an owl tattoo for her. I also like owls, but crows are my preferred bird. So that's my Harumph, and he's adorable, and I love him, and it is fun to work on him. It's just sometimes it gets really grinding. I am also part of the craziness that is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery yearly pumpkin passport. Oh, and he's on 22 count, and I'm doing him 1/1. Frederick is 2/1 on 14 count. So 22 count, 1/1. Also a beast, because you can't do the loop method, which I have recently found and am completely in love with. So this is the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I'm doing it on 14 count. It's like some sort of sparkle Ada that I have. I like using stuff that I have. And so I finished the first clue, and I have the Let's Go on Anne done. I'm going to keep working on the borders as it goes along. I found out with the first one that if I do the entire border at once, it kind of burns me out and I don't want to look at it anymore. So I'm excited for February 1st for this to come because it always feels like a new start and a mini finish. And the last thing I have that I'm currently working on, I store everything in like these little bags because of course I have a lot of pets. And bags are important. I got them at the Daiso. I'm not sure if everybody has a Daiso, but if you do, you can get like 10 for $1.50, and they are the perfect size. Plus, I can keep all my floss and stuff in here as well. Well, just last night, I was like, I want to start something, which is kind of stupid, and I'll explain to you in a second. But I had 2 things kitted up. I actually have more things kitted up. We digress. And so I picked this one. It's a Heaven and Earth Quick Stitch. It's the Bubble Fairy Cat Face by Carrie Hawks. It doesn't tell me how many colors it has. This is an older one, I'm pretty sure. It's 150 by 106, so it's not big, but it's adorable. And I have a friend, and we used to joke because she got back into cross-stitching when I was really hardcore into knitting, and her brother had a friend who cross-stitched, but he only cross-stitched wizards, and we used to joke around with each other about how there's only wizards and fairies, like all these epic cross-stitches of wizards and fairies, and just ridiculous things. So this really makes me think ridiculous things, so I may have to send it to her when I'm done. She can put it up in her daughter's room. Or she can put it up somewhere in our house. I really don't mind. This is on just a random piece of 14 count Ada in a powder peachy pink, and that's as far as I've gotten. which is a lot further than Harumph, so clearly there are not as many color changes, and there aren't. It's got way more large blocks of color, which I like. It's super fun, and that was just last night. It was seriously like maybe 2 or 3 hours of stitching, which is awesome. So I am loving the Fairy Cat. I really am. And this is on a 6-inch Q-snap. My other two are 8s, I believe. They might be 11s. And then I've got all my floss in a pen case. It's got a separator inside of it, so I put the full skeins that I don't have bobbin for. If I don't have a bobbin for it, if the bobbin's in something else, I just put the full skein back here. And then all the bobbinated ones are in the front. For the big ones that have like way more, like Harumph, he has his own plastic case. But now I just, see, then I can just throw it all in and it's safe from hair. Which is awesome, because hair is everywhere. I also have, I call it my bats, my batty bats, who I was working on, but he went in timeout because I was off by a stitch and that made me mad. But I will show you him to you. He's probably going to be out of the rotation for a while just because, again, he's off a stitch. He made me mad. It was my first time, which is kind of funny because it was my first time using the sulky thread to do my gridding. Harumph and the Fairy Kitty are my first two with using the washable markers, and this one's really close to the edge, so I'm probably going to have to mount it myself and be very careful. But this is the Happy Bat by Alessandra Adelaide, Needleworks AAN, and it's very cute and I love it. It's just I needed a break from it. It's on 18 count Aida. That's right, I use a lot of Aida. It's just something I'm comfortable with. I have done a few projects now on even weave, so I feel better about working on even weave, but that is still, I haven't gotten to the linen yet, and maybe I will, but we do stuff because it's fun and because we like to, not because, like, I mean, if you enjoy the challenge, then go ahead, but we don't need to do stuff we don't feel like doing. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. If you find challenges fun, then that's what you need to do. That's my PSA. And then, of course, because he's on indefinite hold, I've rolled him up and put him in here. He also has some felt with him, or actually it's batting. It's just quilt batting. I do a lot of sewing and quilting. It was a scrap of quilt batting, and I used that because this Aida is really thin. I actually got it at it was a Goodwill. I got it at a Goodwill. And it's really thin, so I do need to use the batting to keep it in the Q-snap from shifting. Otherwise, I'm just miserable. So, I'm going to do a bit of a stash flash, if you will, and show you some of the stuff I'm really excited about starting this year, this coming year, that I have. And some of it's going to be like, ooh, and some of it's going to be like, what are you on, girl? Just roll with me here, okay? The first thing that is probably going to get started this weekend, because today my 123 stitch order comes. It's not here yet. I checked the shipping, and it's out for delivery right now, so it's somewhere floating around the city, coming to me. And I will now show you what is going to be made as soon as it gets here. As soon as. For Christmas, my mother, who is in Canada, of course, asked me what I wanted, and I knew what I wanted, and I wanted a Mirabilia. Wanted to try my hand at Mirabilias, because I've never done a Mirabilia, and they're beautiful. There's, like, some of them are just not my taste, not my cup of tea, very much in the Julicious line of thinking, like, they're all white ladies reclining, although, can we just have a moment for the crafty curator, Letitia? Her at the Met, the Dorothy Dandridge / Josephine Baker. Oh my God. I may have to use her skin transitions and try and make something of my own. or figure out a brown version. I am what you would call a Native American. Up in Canada, I'm called an Indian, or First Nations, or an Aboriginal, which is kind of funny considering Aborigines originated in Australia. Whatever, that's what I am. So I do tend to like that theme thematically. However, I saw this one and I knew I had to have it. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money. Like a lot of my mom's money, the exchange rate is horrible. So we ordered for Stitching Bits and Bobs in like November. It got here in January. I knew it was coming, so it wasn't a big deal. But I saw her and I had to have her. It's the Gypsy Queen. My first Mirabilia is going to be the Gypsy Queen. I'm so excited. I love all the colors. I used the viewer to pick out my background, which is not actually going to be what is called for. I'm doing it on a 28 count. I believe it's a Joblin I picked. It's Picture This Plus Gingerbread, which is a little darker and it's got some modeling. I didn't want the light one, and quite frankly I couldn't find it in a 28 count, and 28 count is what I'm willing to do here. I'll be doing 2/2, and came with all the beads. So my mother got for me for Christmas the pattern, all the beads, all the silks, all the Krennics. Not the Whisper, but I don't really care about that. I'll bring these out. It's my first time working with silks. I'm excited. The water lilies. They're also variegated and pretty. And the Krennics. They're gorgeous. 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 That will be cast on by this weekend. I guarantee you, as soon as that gets here, I'm probably going to go gnarly and start it. Because I've been seeing all the gorgeous Mirabilias on Flosstube, and I've been seeing all the gorgeous Mirabilias on Facebook groups, and I knew I needed one. I'm having a malfunction here. There we go. Sorry. I'm also a big girl. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I'm big. I'm big. I fill a room in many ways. So, yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but sometimes there's malfunctions in this area and I have to fix them. I try to be discreet about it. Now, my Mirabilia is my big one. I do have 12 planned starts for Stitch Mania. I'm not going to do the May Mania because May is my birthday month and it's going to be crazy enough as it is. But I have one start for each month figured out. Except for, of course, the Mirabilia and the kitty. I'm just throwing things in there. It's horrible. It's horrible, and it's because I watch too much Flosstube. If there is such a thing as watching too much Flosstube. I don't think there is, personally, but maybe there is. I don't know. So, a couple other things I have planned. I'm just going to show you a few now, because I know I enjoy seeing people's stuff, and it makes me happy. See, I keep these. I have a bunch of them. I keep them close. I don't sleep with them or anything, but I keep them nearby. You can see my storage container here. I picked up at the exchange at Christmas to store all of my stuff because it's all kind of kitted. This is a Carolina linen, 28 count. I guess I do have linen. I don't know, because this is even weave Lugana in Carolina linen. Someone can correct me about that, but it's in the sand colorway, and it is going to be, this one is not in a bag, because I was debating last night between this one and the Fairy Cat and the Fairy Cat 1. I got this on Stash Unload, because if I see something Halloween, I will pick it up as fast as I can if it hasn't already been claimed. And it is the Halloween Arches by Bent Creek. And I have all the things for it. Weeks Dye Works, Crescent Colors, DMC. They're all ready to go. And it doesn't come with the little buttons that you see, the little star buttons. But I have a bag of random buttons I got from my mother. My mother picked that up somewhere along the lines at some sewing store, I believe. So I'm just going to see if I can find something like the star buttons and put them on. it doesn't really faze me if I don't have the star buttons there. I like that it has batty bats, because of course everything with bats, that's me. And I'm going to do it on the sand, even weave, Lugana, Carolina linen, whatever. When I get to it, that is what's going to be on that. Where can I put these so I can put them over here? I was at Joann's, and say what you will about kits, sometimes they're just fun, and I had 50% off coupon. So this wasn't actually the price, and it's a gorgeous traditional dancer. This looks like fancy dance or shawl dance. I'm not sure. She does a lot of American Southwest, and I am from Central Canada, so this is not particularly my brand of Aboriginal, but she's still gorgeous, and I love it. I actually went and bought the Joan Elliott used Native Americans book with all the stuff in it. It's so gorgeous. But this is the Dream Dancer. She is, of course, on Ada. The thread is not pre-sorted. That's not a hardship. I spent the vast majority of my young life doing thread sorting. That is what I did for my mother. My mother would hand them to me, and that would be like my Friday night fun. Well into my teenage years, I didn't have a really big social life, but I love separating. I love kitting. Kitting is my favorite part of it. Well, no, my favorite part is the cross stitching, but I love kitting things, and I love getting kits, and I love sorting floss, and I love bobbinating. I just love organizing that kind of stuff, so it makes me happy. And one of these just broke off, so yay. Alrighty. And I'm just going to show you a couple of things I've got going on in here that I've got planned. I'm kind of all over the place in terms of what I intend to be doing. So, like I've got and I got this from Stash Unload too, the Terra Australis with the dinky dyes. It came with the silk. I still haven't used silk, so I'm very interested in seeing how that's going to work. It can be done on 28 count or 32 count. The model was stitched on 28 count antique white Joblin. I have some, where did I put it? Right here. I have some regular white even weave Lugana Monaco that it will probably be done on. But it's gorgeous. Of course, it's a very variegated silk, so I'm looking forward to that. I will probably do black work at some point. I haven't yet, but I find the idea of doing one color very lovely. And then, because I'm a joiner and I saw it on the lovely Array, I went back and I watched a bunch of her stuff. The Tempting Tangles Peacock Pinwheels, and of course with the silks. Well, one sec. Okay. If I don't look at it, it's going to keep pinging. That's the problem. So yeah. Dinky Dyes Design and Tempting Tangles. Those are definitely going to be made this year. They are high on my list of stuff. I have, of course, more ornaments, which I intend to do for my family. I have the cutest little birds. I love birds. I just love birds, period. It's Marjorium Bastion Counted Cross Stitch, which I got from Stash Unload. I also have a bigger piece that I have to kit up that's by her, and it's awesome. Here's the bat, if you were wondering. It's gorgeous. I have the Just Nan Halloween Party, which I'm going to be doing on a 22 or an 18 count. I will have to look at that more closely. I have most of the stuff for this. I think I need to get a few a few colors, and then its kit is done. And I have cold arms now. That's what I have. I have the Prairie Schooler, because of the Prairie Schooler Apocalypse, book 185, the 3 pigs. And also coming in my order from 123 Stitch, I picked up a couple more. See, I have this thing where I think, okay, if I have a child, apparently I'm at the age where I start speculating about having a child before it's too late. I would do their room in like all fairy tales because it's very neutral. Like, well, fairy tales, like, not fairy tales, I suppose morals, or these kind of stories. So I picked up a couple more of those and some Halloween ones because I need all the Halloween in my life all the time. Seriously, my living room is Halloween all the time. And the last big one, which is completely kitted up. See, these bags, they hold everything. Got the floss organizer all organized. This one's going to be wicked because I'm doing it on an 18 count. But I figured I needed to do some, like, I don't know why I felt the need to do the Harumph first, because this one only contains 64 colors, but that might be a raven, but I'm pretending it's a crow, and it's Heaven and Earth. It's by Babette Vandenberg, the Mini Wisdom Black, and I love it. And so I have all the floss ready, I have the Ada ready. I need to finish a few things before that goes on the Q snap. Currently I stitch in hand, or no, yeah, I stitch on a Q snap in hand. I'm looking into getting a floor stand. Yeah, I'm looking into getting a floor stand just because our couch is really low and it bugs me. So that is just a couple of things I am planning on starting this year, and just a little bit of my stash. I don't want to be like, here's the entirety of my stash. I have a fair amount of floss. True. I have a fair amount of fabric. Also true. I have several books about cross stitch and stuff. Also true. You'll see those in the coming weeks. You really will. In the meantime, I am definitely going to be focusing on what I currently have ready. I am excited because it's, what, the 29th, the 30th, which means February 1st is soon, and then I can start the next installment of the Frosted Pumpkin. I am really loving working on Frederick and the Fairy Cat and Harumph. They all satisfy a different need for me, and I think that's the thing, because when I'm knitting I have lots of patterns and they all satisfy a different need, so all of my cross stitches satisfy a different need. I'm probably going to have to start a mini though, because I'm going to need some instant gratification. That's just how I roll. That is everything though. That is all I really had to say. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I will be marking all of the cross stitch ones with Flosstube, so you know which one is which. You can find me on Instagram. I'm Sadie Ruin there, and on Twitter. But all my tweets are just pictures from Instagram, basically, with the occasional quip thrown in. So I'm not very big into the Twitter. I'm not on Pinterest. I think that's everything. If you've enjoyed this, please do let me know. If you haven't enjoyed this, you can thumbs down and I don't give a crap. However, I will be coming back at you next week. I hope you have a great weekend and a great stitchy week, and I hope you're geared up for February.